Hey guys, welcome to another Dave Swartz art comic book coloring video. In today's video, we're going to be coloring the flats for the Feast or Famine pinup prize for the Indiegogo campaign. So in this pinup, we're featuring a meeting between Tesca and Stein and a more familiar version of Einstein and Tesla. So we've got our two heroes from the Feast or Famine series coming through the portal here in the foreground, and I'm going around and masking out a shape for Stein. So whenever I start my flats, I kind of began with that first stage where I lay in the lighting, just kind of establishing some light sources. I knew the portal itself was going to be a secondary light source, whereas the scene itself is going to have another type of light source coming in from that electrical device there. I haven't quite put that in yet, but I'm working on the lighting right now. So I put in the two foreground guys there with the pen tool, and now I'm using the polygonal lasso tool to go around and get this lightning. Now, the only reason why I kind of switch between using the pen tool and the polygonal lasso tool for masking is if something is just really hard edged, doesn't have a whole lot of curve to it, then I just use the polygonal lasso tool. It's more of a quick kind of tool. The pen tool to me is something that's a little bit more advanced for areas that require lots of curves, lots of odd shapes. Then I'll use the pen tool, but it's not quite as quick. So, all right, so now I'm kind of did a bit of a color hold on the line there, as well as filled it in with some bright blue, just to kind of give it a little bit of a, you know, lightning kind of hue to it. I don't want it to be straight white, so I wanted to establish at least a little bit of blue light coming from up there first, and then I'm going to start to set the scene with the flat color. So I'm going in and pulling out the different individual parts of the chalkboard, the table, and then applying a little bit of that blue light to it just to kind of marry it into the scene. If you don't consider adding the light source or the color of the light source to your flats, it's going to wind up sometimes looking like these things don't exist within the same environment. After all, light affects everything. So if it has a slight blue hue to it, you need to consider adding a little bit of that same blue hue to all of your flats in order to be able to make it look like, again, it exists within the same space. So I'm using the pen tool, going around, getting Tesla and Einstein there. And I quick jumped because I unfortunately forgot to video some of it. So I had to quick jump the coloring of the flats for our two main guys in the center there. But you can see how, I'm just establishing some basic color tone. And the nice thing about this piece is I did this traditionally. So I used a combination of pen and ink to get these value washes. It's almost like an underpainting to establish some shadows and some light sources before I even begin coloring. Traditionally, for any kind of painting, you would start with an underpainting first. So you'd want to come in and establish your values and then start to work in some of those colors into it. Same type of idea here. And plus, the nice thing about the watercolor washes or the value washes there, it lends a certain traditional quality to it. It's really hard to achieve some of this watercolory stuff in Photoshop with some of the brushes that are available. I mean, it can be done, but to me, it just doesn't look nearly as natural as the real thing. All right, I'm almost done wrapping up this piece. I did all the final painting on a Facebook Live, so if you want to check out how I did that, you can go to my Facebook page, Dave Swartz Art, and check out the final touches. But let's take a look at that before we end with all the painting, all the fancy stuff. Looks pretty good. All right, don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and the Feast or Famine Indiegogo. It ends on August 12th. Make sure to get your copy.